Hi, I'm Emma Carter. Have you ever stared into your sister's eyes while your face bled, your shoulders screamed in pain, and heard her whisper that you should have signed the mortgage? That was me, crumpled on the cold concrete of my parents' garage, tasting blood, my vision blurry, all because I refused to be their guarantor. I felt my father's hand slam against my cheek, my body hit the wall, and the air rush out of my lungs. My knees gave out, my hands slipped in my own blood, but I crawled out of the garage, across the frosty yard, up the porch steps to my mother's door. I pounded, sobbing, begging for help. What happened next, I'll never forget. Even the police were shocked. 2 weeks earlier, Sarah called me, her voice sweet like she wanted something. "Hey Emma, we're having a small dinner at Mom and Dad's this Friday. Just family, cozy, Dad's cooking." I hesitated. Sarah's invitations often led to traps, but she insisted, saying, "It's been too long and Dad misses you." Against my gut, I agreed. When I arrived, the house smelled of roasted chicken. The dining table had Mom's best china, used only for special occasions. Sarah hugged me tightly, her perfume lingering. "You look tired," she said. Behind her, my father, David Carter, sat at the table's head, holding a whiskey glass, his face blank. I hung my coat and sat, forcing a smile. Dinner started fine. Mom served soup, Sarah talked about her home renovations, and Mark, her husband, bragged about a shaky business deal. Then Dad slid a thick envelope across the table. "Open it," he said. I froze. "What's this?" I asked. Sarah leaned in, smiling tightly. "We're closing on the house, but the bank needs extra assurance." "Assurance?" I echoed. Dad nodded. "Your name on the mortgage as a guarantor." "No big deal, Emma. I work in finance." I knew what was in that envelope. Balloon payments, risky interest rates, clauses that could ruin me if they failed to pay. "You've been denied before, haven't you?" I asked quietly. Sarah's smile faded. "Temporary credit issues," she said. "Freelance income looks bad on paper." Dad's eyes narrowed. "We need you, you're the responsible one." It wasn't praise, it was a demand. I set my spoon down. "I can't sign this. If anything goes wrong." "Nothing will go wrong," Sarah interrupted. "We're family." The word felt heavy, a trap they kept setting. I didn't bite. "I'll think about it," I said. Dad's jaw tightened, but he didn't push. I finished my soup, the envelope sitting like a loaded gun. The next morning, I sat at Rachel's kitchen table, staring at an untouched coffee mug. She's been my best friend since college, always seeing through me. "They want you to do what?" she asked, arms crossed. "Cosign their mortgage," I said. Rachel's eyes narrowed. "Emma, no, if you sign, you're on the hook when they don't pay, and they won't." "They're my family," I said softly. "They're counting on that," Rachel replied. "You always show up. That's why they ask. Remember the credit card mess 3 years ago? They used your account for Mark's business and you paid it off to save their face." My throat tightened. "That was different." "It's never different," she said. "They make the mess, you clean it up." Her words hit hard because they were true. "You need to draw a line, Emma, or they'll keep pushing." I nodded but didn't commit. Leaving her house, the winter air stung my cheeks. I wanted to believe she was wrong, but I knew she wasn't. 2 nights later, I walked into my parents' dining room for another dinner. The table was perfect, polished silverware, crisp tablecloth, a golden roast chicken. Sarah sat with Mark, both radiating smugness. Dad was at the head, knife and fork ready. Mom fussed like we had guests, but it was just me. Dinner started with small talk, Sarah's fabric swatches, Mark's business, Mom's church group. But when plates were half empty, Dad leaned back. "So Emma, Sarah says you haven't signed." "I'm still considering," I said. Mark chuckled. "Considering? It's just a signature. You don't even have a family to worry about. Why not help your sister?" Mom nodded like it made sense. "Families help each other." I swallowed my anger. "It's a big financial risk. I need to be careful." Dad's smile vanished. "Careful or selfish?" Sarah laughed like I was ridiculous. The air grew thick. My hands clenched in my lap. "You think you're better than us," Dad said, his voice low. "Sitting in your fancy office, acting above the people who raised you." "I'm not better," I said calmly. "I just know the stakes." Silence fell. We finished dinner quietly. As I grabbed my coat, Dad's voice followed. "Come by later this week. We'll talk privately." It wasn't a question. I said, "Fine," against my instincts. That Friday, Dad called. "Swing by after work, we need to settle this." Every muscle screamed no, but I said, "All right." I arrived at dusk, the garage door half open. It smelled of oil and metal. Dad stood by his workbench, whiskey in hand. Sarah leaned in the doorway, smirking faintly. "Sit," Dad said, pointing to a stool. I stayed standing. You wanted to talk? I asked. He set his glass down. You're making your sister's life harder over nothing, one signature. It's not nothing, I said. It's a contract that could ruin me. Sara laughed softly. You're so dramatic. Dad stepped closer, boots loud on the concrete. I'm your father. I provided for you your whole life. You owe me. I'm not saying no to hurt you, I said. It's dangerous. His face darkened. Dangerous? What's dangerous is a daughter who betrays her family. I stepped back, my shoulder hitting the cold wall. Dad moved fast, shoving me hard. Pain exploded in my shoulder. Before I could react, his fist cracked across my cheek. I collapsed, knees hitting concrete, blood dripping from my nose. Sara didn't move. She just said, you should have signed the mortgage. Her words hurt worse than the blow. My shoulder throbbed, vision swimming. Dad loomed over me. You'll regret this. I met his eyes. I already do. He didn't hit again. He walked out, brushing past Sara, who crouched near me. You're making a mistake, Emma, she said, then followed him, the door clicking shut. I lay there, cheek against the cold floor, my heartbeat pounding in my ears. Finally, I crawled out, the night air stinging my split lip. I dragged myself across the yard to the porch and pounded on the door. Mom, it's me. Please, I need help. Muffled voices came from inside, Mom and Dad's. Please, Mom, I'm hurt, I sobbed. Silence, I knocked again. Don't leave me out here. Nothing. My legs gave out and I sank onto the welcome mat that read Family First. Blood spotted the fabric. Snow fell, dusting my hair. That's how Mrs. Wilson found me crumpled, half-conscious. Oh my God, Emma, she gasped, calling 911. Stay with me. Sirens wailed and blue and red lights flashed. EMTs knelt beside me. Ma'am, can you hear me? One asked. My shoulder, I winced. Looks dislocated, he said, wrapping me in a blanket. They lifted me onto a stretcher. My parents' house stayed dark, curtains closed. They never came out. A police officer crouched by me. You're safe now. Safe felt strange. At the hospital, doctors reset my shoulder, stitched my lip, and checked for fractures. Lying in that white room, I replayed the garage, Dad's fist, Sara's smirk, the locked door. The next day, my phone buzzed with missed calls and texts. None from my parents or Sara. Rachel sent a link to Sara's Facebook post, showing me bloodied on the garage floor, captioned, "Pray for my sister. She's struggling and had an episode. We tried to help." My stomach churned. They'd twisted my pain into a lie, making me seem unstable. I called Rachel. She's making me look crazy. She's controlling the story, Rachel said. This is assault and defamation. Press charges. The thought of suing my father and sister felt heavy, but strangers, EMTs, Mrs. Wilson, cared more than my family. That night, I opened my laptop and created a folder. Evidence. I uploaded the ER report. Dislocated shoulder, blunt force trauma, split lip, injuries not self-inflicted. Then photos of my bruises, swollen eye, and welted shoulder. I saved Sara's texts, her hints that I was unstable, and her Facebook video, proof they filmed me without consent. Rachel brought Mrs. Wilson's security footage, showing Dad and Sara leaving the garage, me crawling out, blood visible. This is enough, Rachel said. I nodded. Filing charges felt like breaking the family I'd fought to keep. But Mom's silence, Dad's fist, Sara's lies, the family I protected wasn't real. By midnight, the folder held everything. Medical records, photos, texts, videos. I backed it up on a flash drive and closed my laptop. The house was quiet. For the first time, I wasn't fixing their mess. I was building my case. In court, the room smelled of paper and coffee. Dad sat in a suit, jaw tight. Sara scrolled on her phone, bored. Mom sat in the back, avoiding my gaze. My lawyer held up the flash drive. This contains security footage, medical records, and the defendant's social media posts. The judge nodded. The screen showed Mrs. Wilson's video, me crawling, bloodied. Gasps filled the room. Then the ER report, my photos, Sara's post. Each piece broke their lies. When I spoke, my voice was firm. I didn't want to be here, talking about what my father did. But when your family shuts you out, literally, you have two choices. Keep bleeding for them or stop. I looked at Dad. I'm done bleeding. The judge ruled Dad guilty of assault, Sara guilty of defamation. A restraining order was granted. I walked out into the winter air. Mom and Sara didn't follow. Rachel waited with coffee. You did it, I exhaled, feeling lighter. Yeah, I did. Family isn't the house you're born into. It's the door you choose to walk through. I was walking through a new one.